Welcome, guys. I'm again here with another lecture, that is the morphoanatomical evidences. We are discussing morphoanatomical evidences. As far as the morphoanatomical evidences are concerned, we have already discussed one full lecture on morphoanatomical evidences, and some of the main morphoanatomical evidences which we discussed were the homologous organs, the divergent evolution, then analogous organs and the convergent evolution. Later on, we also discussed about the vestigial organs and all that we discussed. Now, the remaining portion in the this morphoanatomical evidences was about the atavism. Now, we will discuss about the atavism. So, atavism is also known as the throwback. It's also known as throwback, or sometimes it's also known as reversion. So we are dealing with morphoanatomical evidences. The last point in morphoanatomical evidences is about atavism, which is also known as the throwback or the reversion. Now, what is basically atavism? Atavism is the sudden reappearance. It is the sudden reappearance of some ancestral trait or character, ancestral trait or character in an organism. So this is how we define the reversion, or how we define the throwback, or what you call as atavism. So atavism is the sudden reappearance of some ancestral characters in any organism. It means those characters which a particular group of animals or plants have lost, but this some animals or some plants in them suddenly undergo reappearance of such characters. For example, in case of humans, we see that some human babies are born with tails. Although humans do not have a tail, but the ancestors of humans used to have a tail, and if a human baby is born with a tail, it means that some ancestral character has reappeared in that very human, and this is what we call as atavism. So it is simply the reappearance of some ancestral characters which actually we or other animals or plants have lost in the evolutionary course. So if they reappear again in some organism, it is throwback, reversion, or atavism. Now, to make the things clear, we will deal with some of the examples so that you understand clearly what we mean by atavism. You take the example of humans. Some humans are born with many openings in their neck. So usually we do not have any opening in our neck, but some human babies are born with an opening in the neck region, like over here or over here or over here. And these are what we call a cervical fistula. These are what we call a cervical fistula. Now we will deal with this. What is cervical fistula and why it reappears in some of the human babies? Basically, this diagram which I have driven over here, it is of a fish, and in fish you see there are pharyngeal gill slits, are these openings. These we call them as pharyngeal gill slits. Basically, all the animals which are terrestrial, they have evolved from the aquatic animals, and in aquatic animals, mostly in case of the fishes, you see there are pharyngeal gill slits. These are small openings in their neck region, and terrestrial animals have developed from the aquatic animals, but during the evolutionary course they have lost these openings, which we call as pharyngeal slits or pharyngeal gill slits. They have lost those very openings. In case of human beings, if we see, only one pharyngeal gill slit opening remains there, and this gill slit opening forms what we call as the eustachian tube of our ear. You all might have heard this term eustachian tube. When we study the structure of our hair, in the hair in the inner ear there's an what we call as tube which connects it with the pinna, which is known as eustachian tube. So as per the embryologists, it is the eustachian tube which is formed from one of the pharyngeal slit like openings in case of the human embryo, and rest of the slits they degenerate, they are not present in case of humans as you see. But some humans suddenly they undergo reappearance of such openings in their neck regions, as I have driven over here, and this very condition is known as the cervical fistula. So what happened in this very human being is that it suddenly began to reappear some characters of its ancestors or some characters of its ancestral organisms which actually have been lost in the evolutionary course. This is what we call as atavism, throwback, or the reversion. Then we will move on towards another example. Another example is, in case of humans, if you see, humans have a pair of mammary glands over here in the pectoral region. So in the pectoral region, we are having a pair of mammary glands. They are present in humans, both in case of males as well as females, although they are vestigial in case of males, but they are present. So in humans, a pair of mammary glands are present in the pectoral region, but some human babies have been found, or some human babies have got what we call as have got birth with additional mammary glands. Besides in the pectoral region, they had the mammary glands in the additional areas of the body, like in the this abdominal region and below the abdominal region. And as in case of other these mammals, you find that besides being in the pectoral region, there are mammary glands in some other regions of the body also, like in the abdominal region, etc., like in case of the dogs, etc. So basically what it says that the humans have basically got evolved in the evolutionary course from some animals which possessed the additional mammary glands besides the pectoral region mammary glands. So we have lost this character, though we have lost this character in the evolutionary course, in the evolutionary time we have lost these characters. But what happened is, sometimes some human babies have got birth with these additional mammary glands, and this is a clear example of what we call as atavism, reversion, or throwback. So this is the second example by which I try to make you understand what basically atavism means. And the last example we will discuss is of the Irish Dogman. Basically, a human baby was born in somewhere in Russia, and he was then known as Irish Dogman. Why he was known as Irish Dogman? You see that in case of humans, our body is covered by hair which is very thin, soft, smooth, and scanty. In case of other mammals, like you see bear or other cattle, there is very much dense this hair which covers the body. But in case of humans, there is a scanty, soft, smooth, thin hair, not very dense hair. Now what you see, this Irish Dogman, as a baby when it got born, and later on when it grew up, its whole body was covered by thick, dense hair. Its face and all its body was covered with thick, dense hair, like that of the other animals, like that of the bear or like that of the cattle. So that's what I have drawn over here. These are hairs covering the whole surface of the body of this man. That's why he was known as Irish Dogman. Now, in all the three examples, we understood that basically all these cases are of the reversion. It means somehow the ancestral character or the ancestral trait has got reappeared in these cases, and this is what we call as a reversion, throwback, or simply what we call as atavism. So it's a morphoanatomical evidence. So with this we have completed about the atavism. Now I will elaborate a little bit about this thing, why these things happen and what they indicate. They indicate that humans had these characters in the ancient past, but it is actually during the evolutionary course that we came to lose these characters, or we have lost these characters. So they remind us that our ancestors used to have these characters, and this is what we call as throwback, reversion, or this is what we call as atavism. With this we end up the topic on atavism, and this will be the last lecture, and rather it is the last lecture on the morphoanatomical evidences favoring the evolution.